Okay, this is Unit 8, Algebra 1 review. Okay, so it says Lisa has a total of 36 dimes and quarters. If the total value of the coins is $6, how many dimes does she have? Okay, so we're going to have a total and a money equation. So the two things we're talking about are dimes and quarters. So how many dimes and quarters does Lisa have total? She has a total of 36. Now we're going to deal with the money. Dimes are worth 10 cents. Quarters are worth 25. And how much total money does Lisa have? $6. Okay, so the question is, how many dimes does she have? So we're going to get rid of the quarters. So we're going to multiply the top equation by negative 25. So we're going to have negative 25d minus 25q equal, okay, so you're going to have to multiply 25 times 36, which is negative 900. Bottom equation stays the same. And we just add. Okay, so that quarters will go get away. Negative 25d plus 10d will give me negative 15d. Negative 900 plus 600 will give me negative 300. Divide by negative 15. So we have 20 dimes. Okay, number 2 says an athlete throws a shot put with initial velocity of 10 feet per second from a height of 6 feet. The height of the shot put, h, after t seconds is modeled by the equation negative 16t squared plus 10t plus 6. How long is the shot put in the air before it hits the ground? Okay. So what we're going to do is we zero in on the equation. And what we need to do is set the equation equals to 0. Because when it hits the ground is at 0 height. Okay. So the way we do this is we're going to factor. So we're going to factor out a negative 2 first. Negative 16 divided by 2, negative 2 is positive 8. Bring down the t squared, bring down the positive. 10 divided by negative 2 is negative 5. So we can change that to a negative. And positive 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. Okay. So then we factor. So two numbers multiplied together, that gives you 8t squared, be 8t and 1t. Two numbers multiplied together, that gives you negative 3t, negative 3 and 1. Cross multiply. Remember, we want our middle term to be negative 5. So that means I want the 1 to be negative, so therefore the 3 has to be positive to give me my negative 5t. So I'm going to write negative 2, bring down the negative 2, 8t plus 3. Remember, when you write it straight across, t minus 1, and that's equal to 0. Okay. So at this point, I can divide by negative 2. So I'm just left with 8t plus 3, t minus 1. We use the zero product property. So 8t plus 3 is equal to 0. T minus 1 is equal to 0. You're going to move the 3. That becomes negative 3. Divide by 8. So t is negative 3 over 8. We're going to move the 1. So t is equal to 1. So remember how I said since we're talking about seconds, time cannot be negative. So my answer is 1 second. Okay. Simplify the expression the cube root of 125. So remember, the cube root means you're looking for three numbers that are exactly the same, that when you multiply them was going to give you 125. So the answer would be 5, because 5 times 5 times 5 will give you 125. Okay. What are the roots of the quadratic equation? So just by looking at the answers, I know I have to use the quadratic formula. So I'm going to have to find A, B, and C. A is my leading coefficient, B is the coefficient of x, and C is my constant. So I'm going to use my quadratic formula, negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So negative plus or minus, remember that's my discriminant, to parentheses. So I'm going to do the inside of the square root first. So I'm going to have b, a, and c. So 3 squared is 9. Bring down your negative. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times negative 4 is negative 80. So negative and negative make a positive. So that's 89. So we're going to substitute that back. Okay, b goes here. B is 3. And then we have a. So we're going to have negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 89 over 10. So need to be careful because notice how these look very similar, but one has a negative and the other one has a positive. So my answer is A because I need the negative. Okay. Solve 5x squared plus 25 equals to 92. Since my middle term does not have an x, I'm going to move the 27 to the other side. So I'm going to have 5x squared equals to 92 minus 27, 65. Then you're going to divide by 5. 65 divided by 5 is 13. And then finally, you're going to take the square root of both sides. Remember the rule is when you take the square root of both sides, you get a plus or minus. Okay. Be careful, because notice one of the answers doesn't have a square root, but we need the answer that has a square root. Okay, so for y, so we're going to use substitution. So we're going to rewrite this equation as negative x minus 2 parentheses equals to 16. And we're going to substitute that into our parentheses. And we're going to distribute. That's going to be 4x plus, because the negative times the negative, 26. Bring down my negative 2x. Combine like terms. And you can move the 26 as well. So that's going to be 2x. Negative 10. Divide by 2. So x is negative 5. Okay. Now here's the thing. Yes, there is an answer that says x is negative 5, but it says y. We need to find the y value. So we need to get our x and substitute it back. We're going to have 10 minus 3, 13, or y is negative 3. So my answer is B. Okay. For number 7, I want to get rid of the x's. So I'm going to multiply the top equation by negative 2. So I'm going to have negative 4x plus 10y equal to negative 20. I didn't change the bottom one. Stays exactly the same. So I end up with 0, 0, 0. So remember, when you end up with 0, 0, 0, they're identical lines. They're exactly the same, which means that there are many solutions. Okay. So number 8 says which graph represents, okay, the y equals negative 2x squared minus 4x minus 3. Okay, so in order to do this, first thing you need to do, okay, is we can cross off 2 of them. Okay, so it's going to open down because my leading coefficient is negative, so it's going to be a sad face. So right away, I know that the answer can't be C and it's not a line, so the answer can't be 9. D. Okay, so my y-intercept is 0, -3, which notice they're both at 0, -3. And then finally, my x value. So I'm going to find A, B, and C. So A is -2, B is -4, and C is -3. So I'm going to have the opposite of B over 2 times -2 or -1. Okay, so x is -1. So that means that my line of symmetry is at -1. So notice that it's going to be at -1. So the answer is A. Okay. So which graph represents? So the easy thing to do is just draw yourself a graph and graph it. So we're going to go, my y-intercept is 2. I'm going to go down 1 to the right 1. It's going to be dash. And since it's less than, I need to shade everything below the line. Okay, this one is -3. I'm going to go up 3 to the right 1. It's going to be solid. And because it's greater, I want everything greater than of the line. So notice this is where they interact. So the answer is A. Okay, so which graph represents y equals x cubed minus 3? So once again, it's going to go up because my leading coefficient is positive. So I know the answer can't be A or B. Because there's no middle term, my y-intercept, which is 0, -3, is also equal to the vertex. So C is my answer because that my vertex is at 0, -3. Okay. 11 says, how many times does the graph of y equals 5x squared minus 4x plus 3 intersect the x-axis? For this one, I'm going to have to use the discriminant. So I need to find A, B, and C. So A is 5, B is -4, C is 3. Okay, so B is -4, A is 5, C is 3. So I'm going to have 16. Bring down your negative. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 times 3 is 60. And 16 minus 60 is -44. Since it's a negative number, okay, remember, ton of work is negative, so that means it's going to have no solution. To simplify the square root of 56, we're going to use a prime tree. So I need two numbers multiplied together that gives you 56. 2 and 28. 22 is prime, so I'm going to underline it. Two numbers multiplied together that gives you 28. 4 and 7. Again, 7 is prime, so I'm going to underline it. And two numbers multiplied together that gives you 4. So I'm looking for my pairs. So anything that's a pair goes outside. Everything else stays inside. So it would be 2 square root of 14.